Welcome back to the Wakeman channel. If you haven't entered the surfboard giveaway yet, make sure to get over to that video and get yourself entered. I'll put a link right above me, I'll put a link in the description below, and I'll put a link at the end of this video. Alright, so at the beginning of this video, you saw us howling to support those people on the front lines of the coronavirus. So we're doing that every night at 8 p.m. And actually tonight, which is April 7th, when I'm recording this, is going to be apparently the biggest moon of 2020, so it'll be very appropriate for howling. So if you're not already doing it, jump on the bandwagon with us and get out there and howl at 8 o'clock each night to support those people on the front lines. Alright, so today's video is going to be the 7th episode in my trick tip series, and just want to remind you that my trick tip series is not so much a tutorial, it's more providing you with those big tips that helped me to nail a particular trick for the first time. That being said, I will be providing some links in the description below to some tutorials that helped me and that I think are very helpful for learning this particular trick. And the trick we're talking about today is the heel side, front side 180. As far as wakeboarding goes, this is a basic trick. But I believe that it is one of those main building blocks to many other tricks that you may work on later on. It is also the base of one of my favorite tricks. I do a melon grab 180 and it is one of my favorite tricks. And it has taken me a good amount of time to get it to where I like it. I still want to perfect it more, but I had to learn a heel side, front side 180 to begin with. So I'm going to start by showing you, what it looked like when I first started hitting my heel side, front side 180s. They look pretty awkward at this stage, and that's how it's going to feel for quite some time at first. Riding switch, which would be with your back foot forward or your opposite direction, is very, very awkward at first. And so that leads me to my first tip, and that is you need to get comfortable riding switch. As awkward as it feels, you need to just ride around switch. You need to, carve out switch, carve back in, go across the wakes. You don't necessarily need to jump the wakes yet going switch, but you'll want to get very comfortable. Even if you're just standing in place, pointing towards the boat, just riding switch. You need to get your muscle memory used to it and just get your body used to it. The landing of a heel side, front side 180 is going to be switch, so you need to be comfortable with riding switch, at least for a moment. And I would say get yourself used to riding switch for at least half a minute, so 30 seconds. So moving on, I want to show you a clip of where I make a few mistakes trying a heel side, front side 180. So you can see that I try to initiate the turn as I'm coming off the wake, which is going to mess you up no matter what. These days I can correct that in the air and I can land it, but it is going to make it harder for you to land if you start initiating the spin before you release off the wake. So big tip number 2 is that you need to make sure that you leave the wake before you start turning. Make sure you have a clean edge into the wake, pop off the wake, then initiate your spin. So another thing you'll notice is that I'm spinning pretty late and it's not a very clean spin, and because of that I'm kind of landing on my heels. I don't feel comfortable with it, so I'm kind of letting go of the handle. So big tip number 3 is for this trick, initiating the spin is all about placement of your hips. So as you're carving into the wake, you're going to have the handle closer to your front hip. So if you're goofy footed, that means it's closer to the right side of your hips. And if you are regular footed, that means closer to the left side of your hip. And once you release off the wake, you're going to want to push your back hip to the handle. I want to be clear about this. It's not going to be pull the handle to your back hip. It's going to be push your back hip to the handle. And that will initiate the spin appropriately and the most clean way. And the last big tip on this trick, tip number 4, is to let go with your front hand. That's going to help keep your body from trying to spin back. If you let go with your front hand after you've initiated your spin, and then following it up with some normal tutorial tips, you need to make sure that when you land that your board is pointed in the direction of your travel as opposed to pointing it back towards the boat. And also keep a little more weight, keep your chest and a little more weight over your toes. And that's going to help you from slipping out. It's very, very common for you to land a 180 and slip out because you're leaning back on your heels or because you have the board pointed towards the boat. So you'll hear those tips in pretty much all tutorials. So I'm not referring to those couple of tips as my big tips, but those are my big tips on how to nail a heel side, front side 180 for your first time. You can see in this clip that later in my first year of hitting my heel side, front side 180, I was able to throw a nose grab into it and do a late 180, which doesn't really look great now looking back on it, but I was pretty excited when it happened at the time. And then in these clips, you can see that I have really honed my skills much further. I can do a pretty dang clean melon front side 180, and it is still to this day one of my favorite tricks to do. You can also see that I was able to get a really good photo of it at one point in time. So go ahead and work on this heel side, front side 180. Make sure that if you want me to provide big tips on specific tricks in the future, that you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Or if you have any questions, anything of the sort, go ahead and comment that below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.